beautiful people of this equally beautiful planet. Welcome to League Unlocked. My name is Eric. I will be your captain today, and thank you for joining us on the show. It's always fun, and now that we've had a little bit of separation from the World Championship in 2019, it's enough of a break that we can go back and revisit the tournament that was and look at the greatest plays from that event. There's always tons to choose from because the entire thing lasts for almost an entire month. So there's plenty of highlights to choose from. We're going to go 10-1, the best plays, whether it's an individual outplay or a team fight, or just overall team synergy coming together for one specific play or moment. Obviously, there's some incredible moments when you have world-class players across the stage. Let's just get right into it. No honorable mentions. We're going 10-1, and the first play on this list comes from Fnatic versus SKT in their group stage action. The first time that they played, obviously the second time is when Fnatic came away with a big win, but the first time they matched up, and this is where Nemesis had his moment to make a statement on the international stage, and on Rise against SKT, he absolutely delivered.
Teddy didn't want to use his ult on him as Khan dives on forward. We still have the Divine Judgment, but it looks like they don't even use it. Finally, it comes down, and that's 2 kills for SKT. The jump forward, the resets from Faker, as now Clit has found Nemesis, the 1v1. It's a dangerous one for the Lee Sin, but he still wants it. Oh! Outplays him, Faker, trying to chase, but he's not even going to get there. Distracted by a red buff, and Nemesis gets out.
By the skin of his teeth, Nemesis walks away from that.
Nemesis just stalled that game. If Nemesis does not make that play, if he goes down, if Clid is still alive, that is a Baron take, not a Dragon take for SK Telecom.
Now, he started that scrap against Clid at about 30% life, and Clid was almost at full. Rise does an insane amount of damage, especially when you mash the buttons in the correct order. He does save a Baron, ends up just being a Dragon for SKT. They would lose that game, but Nemesis absolutely performed on the big stage against some truly world-class mid laners in Faker, Xiaohu, and soon-to-be Academy mid laner Demonte in the LCS. But Nemesis, great first year. What an incredible rookie split. Number 9 on our list, Fun Plus. We know group stage and knockout round FPX were very different beings and very different teams. There were plenty of highlights in knockouts and some very seriously lowlights in the group stage. But against G2, everything seemed to come together. Tian may have gotten the finals MVP, but your boy Crisp in game 1 absolutely got things started for Fun Plus.
All right, Jankos waiting in the bushes here. The gold is just about even, 300 the difference. Jankos will get caught up. The cocoon into the tongue lash, but he's caught by the dredge line. Crisp goes in with a death sentence. There's the ignite thrown down. Cannon Barrage comes out as well to do the ultimate. What goes up must go down. There goes Cap. Death from below gets interrupted. That was a fantastic stopwatch. FPX escape. We are going to have some of the best team fights this planet and game has ever seen, as both of these teams are trading blow for blow.
He pops the stopwatch on the Pyke ult and immediately flashes away from the Q of Varus to survive. And as that clip rolls out a little bit longer, he would immediately survive, run to the top lane, and end up grabbing a kill on Perks' Varus. Crisp was absolutely insane throughout the entire series against G2. Him and Tian were obviously the main key cogs as to why Fun Plus captured their first ever World Championship, and I don't think people will ever be sleeping on him as a support player at these big events ever again. Number 8 on the list, it's more from FPX, but this time it was a full team effort against Invictus Gaming. We know that these guys coming into their semifinal match, it was all LPL, and we knew that there'd probably be some crazy picks because Fun Plus is not afraid to pick up pretty much anything, especially in the mid lane, and the jungle Kiana combined with Doinb's Rumble mid proved to be absolute disaster for IG.
They have Renekton kind of covering for him as well. We'll get a fight.
That's a flash forward, and Crisp is able to sidestep a lot of the damage, manages to get the dredge line. Here's the support from Doinb, as well as Doomgoon. The dramatic, supreme display of talent allows for a triple kill for Doinb.
Now this is the start of the fight. Look at this. Low mobility targets near a wall. A Rumble ult in, a Kiana ult comes in. It hits all the right people.
FPX say that's our move to get a huge advantage.
That was just one of the many insane wombo combos that they had with that comp as they destroyed IG in that first game. And some of these creative team comps was also one of the main reasons why FPX became world champions. On to number 7, where we have our first and only play-in stage representative. That's why we even included this in our top 10s. You had the Baron steal from 1 HP with the Kaisa Voidseeker. That was more luck than anything. But Zeros against Isurus Gaming on Karma in the bottom lane. There was nothing to do with luck in this play. This was absolute fancy feet at its finest as Zeros put Sia and the rest of Isurus on skates.
The 13-minute mark, still looking for the return dive. No cast, but on his in.
Coming down. The quickness was there, but it is not enough. Saros now is going to be the dessert. Can they actually grab it? Slow's going to go down for the good of the colony, and Saya misses the Q. Oh no, it's a disaster. Saros with the outplay under the Avatar bottom lane, and the fadeaway jump shot barrel is not going to be enough, and the Mystic shot goes wide. What a disaster. Now let's have a look at it one more time. From Saros' perspective.
Nice flash. Very, very good. Dodging out. Start a step on the rise. Q coming flying out. Dodges the Ezreal and the second one as well. Third onto the rise. Saros on a Karma. This isn't an Akali. It's not an Aurelia just dancing all over the place.
If you're not careful and you get styled on that hard and you're, say, missing so many of those skill shots, I say missing, but Zeros did do some insane pathing and dodging. You might be tilted for the entire tournament when you don't come away with a kill there. Isurus would go on to actually win that game. So it was all for naught, except really who remembers who won that matchup and who remembers that insane play. That's why you play the game, even if you're an underdog or you're a team that has zero expectations. You can live on as a legend when you make outplays like that. So one more shout out to Zeros for definitely the best play from the play-in stage, and it was so good that we had to include it in the top 10, even with the plays from the main stage and the big boys on this list. Coming up after the break, the IG or the LPL versus LCK rivalry, it always delivers with some incredible moments. What is up, down, and sideways, all you lovely people? We are back on League Unlocked looking at the 10 best plays from the 2019 World Championship. We're not talking all-time at Worlds, just 10-1 from 2019. And you remember the group of death, which was Group C. Fnatic, RNG, SKT, and Clutch Gaming had the joy and wonders of joining that and going 0-6. But the history of pretty much all world championships that we've had since Season 3 is RNG versus SKT. It always seems to end up coming down and having huge implications. 2013, they played in the World Finals. 2015, RNG was not there. 2014, SKT wasn't there, so those two are off the market. 2016, they play in the quarterfinals. 2017, it's the semifinals. 2018 is the only time they haven't played a game. Well, 2018, SKT wasn't there either. So scratch that. Whenever these two are both at a world championship, they're going to play each other. It's usually in the knockouts, but for 2019, it was the first time that they actually played in the group stage, and they definitely still delivered on the hype, even though we didn't get a best of 5. The first game that they played on stage with both of them 1-0 was absolutely insane, and it came to one of the most incredible endings that we've seen.
Look at the wave clear coming out from Teddy. Yeah, they have to disengage. This is likely going to be the tower for SKT.
RNG knows this is just not hard forceable.
And they have no teleports, Flowers. So Faker can just do this for free.
Yeah.
The recalls take so long. He even gets to see the recalls. SKT, if they had more pokes, they'd actually be able to stop Mord from going back. That's the inhib, and he's out of there.
Another TP is
they're going for more.
Oh, they're all going! It's a triple teleport up into the top side for SKT.
They want to win!
Uzi's going legendary. He's able to find the kill onto the Gragas. SKT are now on the Nexus turret.
Will they get those?
SKT, they play the map right, and they find the Nexus.
And if you remember the comms from that game for SKT, it was Faker and really the rest of the team just saying, okay, we're going all in. Everybody TP, let's go. The gold differential, it was almost dead even. Both teams were knocking on inhib doors. And whew, I mean, that obviously was how RNG didn't get out of groups. If they win that game, it looks a lot better. Maybe SKT is fighting with Fnatic for that final spot, but that clear, concise, and confident shot calling from SKT completely turns the game on its head and ends the game in a matter of basically 20 seconds from when they make the call to pushing down the Nexus. It completely closes out. That was one of the biggest strengths that SKT had in all of 2019. And for RNG, you're one missed call away from potentially getting out of groups. Remember, 2019 was the first time that you saw Uzi not even make it to the knockout rounds of a world championship. And a lot of it had to do with that one play that came on day one action. So you never know how important these games are going to be. But we roll on to number 5 on our top 10 list for best plays at Worlds, and Damwon versus Invictus Gaming was one of the most hyped matchups that you could have had in Group D. You knew that Damwon was going to get out of play-ins and get into this group. They had a chance to prove themselves against a somewhat slumping, defending world champion, and we knew it was all about the solo lanes, but the entire squad of Damwon showed up in one of the craziest team fights that we had at the entire event, and you know it was around the Baron pit.
Canyon has got flash, he has got smite, he has got ultimate, 2000 HP, there's the dash, Nuclear wants to turn around, Nuguri's pushing for the fight as well, the Prince of Jackie Love, Damwon gets the barrel, Nuguri goes down but at what cost, Canyon continues the fight, take a look at Showmaker, he's rejoined, Ning is finally going to get him back into Canyon, and now Nuclear's running for his life, got the double buff, lands the W, gets the Captain Rain, shut down, the Shy gets burnt alive, and now Showmaker kills Baolan. Not just yet, one more auto, it's an ace!
Now, as you know, more often than not, an incredible outplay comes with some substantial misplays from the opponent. You have IG forgetting about the Baron and having Canyon and Showmaker basically just steal that at 2,000 health as a two-man unit, and then Showmaker's Akali completely cleans up the rest of the fight. Nuclear performed huge for them in that fight on the Kaisa, one of the most underrated pieces of this Damwon roster was Nuclear. Consistently, people saying he's the weak link there with Beryl, but he showed up in that team fight. It was extended. It even started before that with Beryl getting caught out in the Baron pit and dying because Damwon's the one that actually starts the Baron. Then IG comes in, but that entire game was such an incredible back and forth. And you know, after watching those two play in that matchup, you knew then that Team Liquid had no chance of getting out of that group. They just could not get to that same level, even though they did hand Damwon their only loss in that group stage. These two were at another tier when it came to Group D, and that's why they moved on to that top 8. As we move on to number 4 on our list, and it is another reappearance of Fun Plus Phoenix. This time it is the World Finals MVP in Tien. For some reason, G2 decided that they did not want to ban Lee Sin, but early on in Game 1, they hadn't discovered that this was going to be an ongoing issue for them. And people love to remember that, of course, this was a 3-0 shellacking at the hands of Fun Plus. But that first game was very back and forth for the majority of it, and it came down to basically one moment where Tien completely steps up on the Lee Sin, and you know that he completely denies the teleport from Perks.
The chain of corruption will start to spread, and it's Mickey that gets tagged. He's locked down, he's knocked up, he's dead! LWX is on a rampage. The Sivir is terrifying. There goes the teleport, the champion, the king! Tian, you beauty, gets the double kill for FPX.
And then it becomes just a buddy story here of trying to allow Perks to escape. The kick to interrupt with the knock up there. Beautifully done. You see the cheering here from backstage.
Now, you got to respect Jankos' attempt to protect his boy Perks in the bottom lane. He walks in front to block the Q and then ends up eating not only the Resonating Strike, but also the Dragon's Rage to interrupt the TP. There were tons of incredible kicks that Tien had on the Lee Sin. There was the in the base play where comboed with Crisp's Thresh, they completely saved that team fight. There's a reason this man won World Finals MVP, but that moment completely shifted that game. It would eventually lead to a Baron for FunPlus, and that was the beginning of the snowball that would last, about 3 games, as they would, of course, sweep G2. But that was one of the biggest turning points of that entire series, and yes, it came that early in Game 1, but it came at the feet of Tien's Lee Sin to completely change that one. Coming up after the break, we still have the top 3 to get to. We got series winning moments, series saving moments, and the biggest plays that we saw at Worlds 2019. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we have reached the top 3 on League Unlock's top 10 plays from the 2019 World Championship, and all 3 of these plays, you could probably make an argument for being number 1 on this list, but of course, only one can have that honor. But all 3 were absolutely fantastic, and starting with that third one, we all remember Griffin having the incredibly dominant, maybe the most dominant 4-0 second week of group stage action, where they beat G2 twice. They beat up on Cloud9 and Hong Kong Attitude. But the most memorable play of that day came from Hong Kong Attitude, even though they lost the game, and it came in the top lane with your boy 3Z, who has had, he had some underwhelming performances. He was incredibly inconsistent. Obviously, HKA ended up going 0-6, but it wasn't the type of 0-6 that you're incredibly disappointed. They were competitive in a lot of their matches, and in peak steamroll fashion, when Griffin was rolling and mowing down everybody, 3Z turns around the 1v2 gank in the bottom lane and absolutely puts Sword and Tarzan in the dumpster.
All the camps on the map for the Elise are bot side, so Elise's natural path will be to go down. Instead, looking for a gank anyway, with the lane state starting to push towards Sword.
Repel up from Tarzan, 3Z knocked back. Great little flash in there by Sword, and now 3Z's on the wrong side of this lane. Managing to survive for the moment. Tarzan's ticking down. 3Z first blood in the 2v1. He gets under the tower. 3Z has carried his performance against Double kill. He takes them down. You do not fight 3Z in his lane.
We finally get that replay of topside after the flash E. You just assumed the pirate was done for.
Yeah, and it's the health back that really comes in for 3Z there. He not only gets the health back, but he also is able to get out of the cocoon and immediately turn around the damage. Then from there, Griffin just don't have the burst.
And you saw also the minion aggro being so important. There was a hugely grouped minion wave.
That cannon minion has 1 auto attack of health left for that entire sequence, and I'd love to see the damage recap, because you know that cannon minion did at least 20% of both Sword and Tarzan's lives. That was a heavy-duty minion wave, and this is still level 3 or 4. Minions do some legit damage. I'm sure that Griffin thought they would have killed that Gangplank a whole lot quicker, especially when Sword starts it off with that Flash E knockback. Everything looks fine and dandy. Jace is Sword's most comfortable pick. Tarzan is on an insane early game jungler in Elise, and Gangplank, he's just waiting till late game, but when you start out 2-0, things start rolling a whole lot quicker. Griffin obviously would bounce back and completely stomp that game in their favor, but the early game outplay from 3Z was absolutely nutty, and you saw how fired up the behind-the-scenes coaching staff was. Alas, it was still 0-6. But again, we remember that play more than the 0-6. Let's go on to number 2, and this time it is an actual Griffin highlight and a series-saving moment for them. We all remember the sadness that was IG versus Griffin, where Sword was completely and utterly outclassed in every possible meaning of the word in that top lane against the Shy. But the other 4 members were doing their very best to keep Griffin in this series, and down 2-0, they needed a game-changing play, and Viper delivered on the Xayah with, of course, the help of his buddy Tarzan.
When will they find it? What's the play? Forward they go. They might have knocked him down. Puts down the pool, but is there enough damage? They're going to try. They ult over the top, and it's already a 2 for 0. Viper doesn't die, but one finally comes through. It's up to Jackie Love, but he gets stunned. Clutch from Tarzan, but Morgana can't find it either. Viper stays alive. That's the full pentakill when they needed it most.
Exactly what Viper has needed to do this series. He stands tall. Through the flank, he gets the pentakill, and finally, Griffin find their Baron.
Now we get it from the pro view to really fully appreciate.
Watch this reaction time.
Oh. 0.1 of a second is enough, and remember, this was all with Chovy not there. He only gets there at the end to have the front row seat to the pentakill coming through from Viper.
The nasty reaction time on that Featherstorm to stay alive, and then Tarzan immediately cocooning Jackie Love, who, by the way, had full health plus the shield from his ulti, whereas Viper was at maybe 70-80% health. Jackie Love could have easily cleaned up that fight, and maybe we're talking about a triple or quadra kill in his way for a 3-0 sweep for IG. Tarzan lands the cocoon, and it ends up being one of the more impressive pentakills that you'll see on a big stage. A lot of the time, it's just the AD carry, whap, 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 getting the last hit on a lot of these fights. But it was basically 2v4 to close that fight out when Viper cleans up all the kills, again, with the help of Tarzan. Viper, Tarzan, Lehens, and Chovy on tank duty played out of their minds in that series, but it wasn't enough. We might not be seeing these players again, ever again, but that play definitely embodied how good Griffin could have been. And just like that, we have reached number 1 on our list. If you've been paying attention for all of them, you know it had to be this play. It could have been 1, it could have been 2, maybe 3, but we had it in number 1 for the implications and how the game was going up to this point. It is SKT versus G2. That was a series-saving fight for Viper. This was a series-clinching fight for Perks on his Yasuo after he had a pretty terrible start to the game, but you know 0-6 is the greatest power spike for Yasuo.
Baits it out, though. Clint had to go up into the air, and it doesn't matter if he messed it up because Clint is still going to go down. But Khan, right to the backside, Caps goes gold, and there's no one else to follow up. Khan's damage doesn't matter. But the ulti comes out in such a close exchange. For now, they're winning, but Perks is coming in. This is his hero moment. If he wants to turn this fight in favor of team, this could be the game-defining moment. Faker is gone. Teddy's next on the list. There's no way he can duel a Yasuo. Amada's coming in, but he's just walking into the meat grinder of Perks. Khan, can he do it? It's not enough. They've done it. They're gonna G2. Khan, can he get it done? He can't. The Vladimir. They can't do it. This is it. The greatest team in the history of League of Legends, taken down by the greatest team Europe has ever produced. FPX, get ready. G2 is heading to Paris.
Remember, Perks is not even alive when that fight and that entire skirmish kind of starts off. He's still running back from base after getting caught out yet again, which was a theme throughout the majority of that game. He comes back, SKT very much in the driver's seat, controlling things, pushing down an inhib potentially. The Yasuo comes in, and immediately, no hesitation, we are going in. Mickey's Gragas gets things started. The blast cone over into almost instantly blowing up Teddy and cleaning up the rest of the fight. Caps doesn't really do anything at that point. He TPs into the base to eventually end it, but it's all Perks' Yasuo, and obviously the implications of clinching a spot in the finals and denying SKT, the best team in the history of the World Championship, a spot in the finals. That's why it comes in at number 1. That's all the time today for League Unlocked. My name is Eric. Thank you guys for hanging out with us as always. Catch you on the flippity flop.